For African nations, Egypt, Libya, Chad, and Sudan are grappling with severe challenges that may lead to disaster. These countries face common issues: food scarcity, underdeveloped infrastructure, high crime rates, weak industries, and most critically, an ongoing water crisis. Among them, these nations suffer most from the continent's dire water shortage. Yet, they're actively working to combat this crisis, with some success. Their solution: remove vast amounts of sand from the Sahara and extract water from an underground reservoir. It sounds straightforward, but it's far from easy. Mount Uweinat sits on the border of Libya, Egypt, and Sudan, with Chad nearby. Though not a mesmerizing sight, this area is rich in history. Ancient rock drawings suggest that cattle breeding thrived in the Sahara long ago, indicating that this vast desert wasn't always as barren. Today, if you look at the Sahara from space, you'll spot green patches in the middle of the desert, far from any major water source, such as the Nile. These green areas, though, are a testament to human perseverance. The Sahara's eastern region is particularly dry, with harsh conditions that make vegetation almost impossible. Yet the area where Egypt has established its green circles, a project focused on desert farming, faces the worst of these conditions. Researchers describe it as hyper-arid, with hardly any rain and constant winds, perfect for sandstorms. Despite this, nearly 1,930 square miles of green fields exist. So how is this possible? It's the result of center pivot irrigation, where circular systems rotate around a central point, spraying water to nurture crops. This technique has allowed Egypt to grow crops like wheat, which the country desperately needs. In 2014, 40,000 tons of wheat were produced using this method. But where does the water come from? The answer is underground. The fields are watered by 400 wells, with plans to expand the network further. These wells extract water from a massive underground reservoir known as the Nubian Aquifer, providing up to 792 billion gallons of water annually. In Egypt's Tashka project, another effort to cultivate wheat in the desert, the primary water source is the same: underground wells. As of 2017, Egypt had built 1,100 wells for this project alone. In many other areas, private farmers dig their own wells to irrigate their crops, tapping into the vast underground water supply. In total, Egypt pumps 435 billion gallons of water from the ground each year. But it's not just Egypt relying on this resource. Libya, a country with vast expanses of desert, is also tapping into the Nubian Aquifer. Under Colonel Gaddafi's leadership, Libya developed the Great Man-Made River, the largest underground pipe network in the world. Over 1,750 miles of pipes were laid to transport water from 1,300 wells, many over 1,600 feet deep. This system delivers around 1.7 billion gallons of water daily, supporting the country's agricultural needs and sustaining its population. Libya's reliance on underground water is so immense that 98.72% of its irrigation needs come from this resource. Sudan and Chad are similarly dependent on underground water sources, though on a smaller scale. These countries also rely on wells to provide water for their farming activities in an otherwise water-scarce region. The Nubian Aquifer, beneath these four nations, holds an astonishing 39 quadrillion gallons of water, more than 7 times the volume of North America's Great Lakes. This underground water supply is critical, particularly because it's seen as a remnant of a time when the Sahara was much wetter. Over thousands of years, moisture from rainfall and rivers was stored in sandstone formations, creating the massive aquifer we rely on today. The problem, however, is that the Nubian Aquifer is not a renewable resource. It's sealed by layers of shale and clay, which prevent rainwater from replenishing it. With no natural means of replenishment, extracting water from this aquifer is unsustainable in the long term. If the aquifer continues to be drained without any new water entering, it will eventually run dry, leading to a crisis for the countries relying on it. Libya, for example, pumps nearly 634 billion gallons of water annually. If this extraction continues unchecked, the Nubian Aquifer could be depleted within decades. Egypt, too, is expanding its agricultural and industrial sectors, drawing more water from the aquifer to support projects like the world's largest sugar plant, which requires massive amounts of groundwater for irrigation. As the water demand increases, countries like Sudan and Chad are also accelerating their use of the Nubian aquifer, further depleting the resource. Sudan, in particular, is experiencing rapid population growth and an increasing need for water. By 2024, the country's groundwater supply is expected to be further strained. Chad's experience offers a cautionary tale. Lake Chad, once a massive body of water the size of Lake Erie, has been shrinking since the 1970s due to over-extraction of water. By 2003, the lake had already lost much of its water, and by 2024, the situation had only worsened. The lake's diminished size has led to agricultural collapse and a humanitarian crisis, with millions of people depending on aid. To address the critical water shortages, some experts have suggested an ambitious and controversial solution: diverting water from the Congo River to refuel Lake Chad through a 1,500-mile-long artificial canal. While this proposal offers hope for replenishing the lake and supporting the livelihoods of millions who depend on it, it poses significant environmental and logistical challenges. Diverting water on such a massive scale could potentially destabilize the delicate ecosystem of the Congo River Basin and affect communities that rely on its resources. Additionally, the amount of water extracted would place enormous pressure on the Nubian aquifer, making an already dire situation even worse. An alternative approach is to tap directly into the Nubian aquifer itself, but this too has its drawbacks. Over-extraction of water from this vast underground reservoir would continue to exacerbate the depletion of its resources, leading to long-term environmental consequences for the region. Furthermore, extracting water from deep underground is a costly and energy-intensive process, and without proper regulation, it could spiral out of control, leading to a situation where the aquifer could take centuries to replenish, if it even does. Recognizing the urgency of these issues, the countries that rely on the Nubian aquifer, Libya, Egypt, Chad, and Sudan, took a critical step in 2013 by signing an agreement to manage the aquifer jointly. The agreement focuses on ensuring that water extraction is regulated and that measures are taken to optimize usage. While it does not enforce strict reductions in consumption, the accord encourages more sustainable practices. Egypt, for instance, has launched an ambitious 20-year plan to modernize its irrigation infrastructure, focusing on upgrading irrigation canals, improving efficiency, and building desalination plants. Meanwhile, Sudan is working to improve water security for its population, focusing on providing basic access to clean water while also exploring sustainable groundwater management practices. These actions are vital to buying time, but they won't resolve the underlying issue unless more substantial changes are made. These efforts are important, but they may only buy time before a true water crisis hits. The countries that rely on the Nubian aquifer must find sustainable solutions to prevent the aquifer from running dry. Otherwise, the consequences for agriculture, drinking water, and the overall stability of the region could be catastrophic. The future of the Sahara's underground water is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the clock is ticking.